I'd like to welcome everyone to the conversation where we talk about everything Cowboys. My favorite team, your favorite team, America's team. Here with your host, Coach Marv.
Cowboy Nation, how are you today, man? How are you today? Um, uh, Wanted to come in, man. Thank y'all for coming in. People coming in and joining. We had some big news that happened the other day. Um, uh, we had a ending year press conference. I don't even know why we make everything a big spectacle to have an ending year press conference, and people know. Uh, don't give me a press conference. Give me results. Um, don't make everything a theater situation. But we're going to talk about certain things today. We're going to talk about, as my title said today, are we really changing the defense? Um, we made a big move. Um, I am affirmed. I am really on board. I know some people want to say, "Well, Coach Marv, are you on board with defining Matt Eberflus?" I'm on board with finding Matt Eberflus. I just don't think he was reaching the team as a coordinator part. But there are some other things. When I asked this question on yesterday on my last show, I told you that there's four ways that the Cowboys can try to attack this coaching thing. Um, and uh, it's four ways that I think that they're going to try to attack this coaching thing. And let's look at the four ways again that I said that they're going to try to attack this coaching thing about this defense. I told you there is three ways that I said that they will try to attack this coaching thing, and or four ways that I said they'll try to attack this coaching thing, and I said it's going to either be the expensive way, and when I'm talking about expensive way, going ahead and getting rid of Matt Eberflus, also bringing in going and try to get one of the top notch guys that's out there, maybe a former head coach or a top notch guy that wants to be here as a coordinator, letting that coach not only when you get that coach here, letting that coach hire his own staff, and having some say so of going out and getting the guys that he wants on the staff, and it may cost you a little bit more money to get the guys on that staff. I.e., who did that? Philadelphia did that 2 years ago, and they went the expensive route with their coaching staff by bringing in Dick Fangio. And when they brought in Dick Fangio after he got let go for Miami, Dick Fangio came in and said he wanted specific people on his coaching staff, and it cost the Eagles a lot of money to get certain defensive line coaches and linebacker coaches and defensive back coaches away from other places to come to Philadelphia. And it paid off. Their defense has been ranked in the top 5. Last year was number 1. And I think it's in the top 10 this year. And I would say that their defense is why they're at where they're in the playoffs right now, is because of their defense. And their defense is basically, I think, is one of the main reasons that they won a Super Bowl last year. So are we going to go the expensive route? That's the very expensive route, because the reason why I say that's the very expensive route, if anybody been listening to me before, that's the very expensive route because of the fact you already going to pay Matt Eberflus a buyout money because you fired him before his contract was over. and you could probably got a bunch of coaches, defensive coaches that you have there that's on their first year, probably on 2-year contracts that you have to get rid of and pay them, and then hire coaches to replace them. That's the very expensive route. But if you get a guy that's quality here, he's gonna want his own staff because there's some bad habits within these position groups that you know. I go with my good friend. We don't uh my good friend Boss Cowboy, and he said this, and I echo what he said. If he said if it's one player, it's we can look at the player, but when we look at a group of guys they're having hiccups and they having the same type of problems, then we say there's got to be a position coach. And you don't have the worst defense in your franchise history, or one of the worst defense in the league in the league, and it's all on the coordinators. This is a group, and I believe what Jerry said. This is a group problem, but it starts with your defensive coordinator, and it ends with your players is not doing well, but your position coaches were just as fault as your coordinator. And sometimes in certain areas they were more at fault. So you shouldn't like anybody out of this group. You say that some of them may have some potential, but all of them failed. All of the position coaches failed. So that's the very expensive route. The economy route. No, it's not as expensive, but it's the economy route. It's still gonna cost you money. And when I said on the last show, the economy route was going to be 5 Matt Eagleflus, promote somebody within the already is on the staff, and pay Matt Eagleflus his salary, and then maybe fire a couple of people on the coaching staff, but don't bring in a top guy, but promote somebody in the staff. That's the economy route. That route, we're fooling ourselves with that. You're promoting somebody within, which you're not going to give them that big of a money. They're really not going to have a control of the staff because you're bringing somebody within. They're probably going to keep a lot of the staff. You may get rid of one person, but you're going to keep the same staff because they're on contracts. You're not going to extend their contract, but you're going to keep them because you don't want to pay everybody dead coaches money. And remember how Jerry don't like to do that. Then you have the cheat route. Well, we no longer in the cheat route because the cheat route was said keep Matt Eberflus and just fire a couple of your coaches and replace them, and just had to pay the assistant coaches their buyouts, but keep the hit coordinator who's had the biggest salary. That's the cheat route. I don't think that's out off the board because they're already fired by Eberflus. And the fourth thing was not do nothing at all, and that's off the board because they have done something. So right now we're looking at two options: the economy and they're expensive. Now, let me add something to the economy route. The economy route is we could go get a guy from college. I'm gonna get some of y'all comments in a minute, right? Keep them coming. Thank you for being here with me. The economy route, we can do this. I heard that they interviewed the guy from Wisconsin, or talking about the Wisconsin guy. Don't know what's going on because a lot of stories about out there. What Whoever you don't hear about is probably going to be the person that's going to get the job. Whoever you hearing about and they talking about all the time probably is not going to get the job. That's usually how it always happened in Dallas. It's always an illusion. Now, to add to the economy route, they can go get a guy from college, tell him that we already got a staff. He's going to come in here and still coach the staff we got. What's going on? Right? Go get a guy from college, keep the guy that's here, the staff that's here, because you're going to tell them that, hey, we got a staff and they don't, can you work with them? Maybe change one guy, bring you one guy, but keep the majority guys there. Only thing you had to pay is Matt Eberflus buyout, and you keep the other guys, and you bring a coordinator in, and then you tell them if they staff don't work out this year, then you can change next year. That's still economy. That's just right above cheap, and I don't think that's gonna work. For what I've seen and saw of this defense, the massive misconfusion, the somewhat of lack of effort, the poor physicality, the poor attention to detail, the inconsistency of play. More things that I saw than talent. Then we had a lot of injuries, and let's be honest, we had a lot of injuries on that. We never got our defensive backfield where it was totally healthy with the guys that we really said we were going to depend on this year. Because we came in this year, we said we're going to depend on the Bland, Diggs, Revel, these people we talked about, and Butler, and all of them was hurt. But I didn't see good things from the guys that you brought in as undrafted free agents. I didn't see good qualities out of them. That goes to coaching. I didn't see aggressive play. That goes to coaching. I saw that we seemed like we was confused all the way to week 17, 18. That goes to coaching. Either they toned out or you couldn't reach them or you didn't hold them accountable to get what they need to get to. And that doesn't all fall on Matt Eberflus. That falls on your position coaches. When a position coach, a head coordinator wants his people to be trained away, he wants a certain mentality. His position coach is supposed to get that mentality. If you get something that is not confusing, or I don't get the effort I want from my defense, I'm going to my position coaches and seeing why you're not getting the effort that I need to get to. The job of a head coach is to coach the coaches. The job of a defensive coordinator is to coach the coaches he's under. The job of an offensive coordinator is to coach the coaches as well as the players. But if Matt Eberflus wasn't reaching his coaches, he ain't got no damn chance of meeting the players. So I ask the question again: are we really changing the defense? Or are we doing a patchwork, save some money type of way? And I'm not talking about players, because see, everybody's going to start. Well, we need to go get this player, go get that player, go get this player. That if you don't have the terminology and I keep saying this, the mentality of being accountable and doing stuff a certain way, players are just going to be out there doing their own thing when they want to and how they want to. And that's what we call dysfunction. And the greatest coaches in college and in pro football, when you talk about championships wise, Nick Saban and Bill Belichick, in the art of coaching, I keep referencing that, they say good players can't take bad coaching. So you get talent, but bad coaching gonna make great talent down to good. Good down to mediocre, and mediocre to horrible. Because good coaching, when I say what good coaching does, good coaching only what? Motivates talent, holds talent accountable, refines the skills, and put it in the right spot for it to be successful. That's all you can do. And when I look at this defense, I didn't see no motivation because I saw it didn't look like a motivated, good defense. I didn't see refining our talent because I saw mistakes from our younger players from the first week. The even guy we brought undrafted free, I saw the same mistakes that they were making early on, making the same mistakes 5 or 6 weeks later. I didn't see no accountability. And then we got players talking about they weren't put in the right spots to make plays. So none of those things was reached by this coaching staff on the defensive end. And I ain't gonna say the offensive end was all great and gravy too. But right now we talking about defense. So when we talk about they made this big press conference and say we got rid of defensive coordinator, where is the evaluation with the rest of the coaches? Or are you waiting before you get a new defensive coordinator? Because if you get a new defensive coordinator, people, let me explain to you again. If you're getting the head of a defensive staff that is already coming in to coach a defensive staff that had breakdowns across the board, and you asking a new mind to come in here and work with the same guys that allowed the accountability of these things that I talked about, they can't change their minds with the players. The players already know who they are. These assistant coaches. They can't come in here and say, oh, now we're going to change. Now, some of you want to talk about, well, coach, it's about the scheme. Let me tell you something, man. There ain't but so much you could do and so much you could disguise. There is no disguising. Basically, the best defenses line up in a base, play it very well, play it with very good discipline. They play it very fast, and they play it very physical. And they're smart IQ defenses, and they don't change for you. They stay in their base. If you look at some of the greatest defenses in NFL history, they weren't complex. They stayed in their base and they played it so well that you had to adjust to them because they did those things. They were disciplined, they played fast, they were smart, and they played together. And I didn't see none of that in our defense. I did see us play together. I did see us play fast, or maybe we couldn't play fast because we are a slow defense, athletic wise. I think we need to improve that greatly. The speed of our defense, very somewhat low IQ. We need to improve that. So there's a lot of stuff. Are we really changing the defense, or are we playing around with it? Because it's not going to be changed by just players. And there's some other coaches on this coaching staff that should be held accountable. Let's go. Let me share something right quick with you. Let me see if I still got it up here. Um, yeah. Oh, that's not the one I wanted to share. Let me get back to what I wanted to share with y'all people. Just bear with me. Bear with me. I'm not the technical part is the one thing that I really, really don't do well, but we're gonna get to it. Let's see, we go here. I pull this up. Oh, no. One more time, people. Let me see if I can find it again. I thought I had this already booted up and ready to give to y'all. Let me see if that's it. Well, me and this guy doggone computer, man. I'll tell you. Well, let me. I thought I had it stared up, but I wanted to talk about. Let me go back to what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about our coaching staff as our defensive backs and our linebacker coaches. The ones that I really wanted to see if we can change out is I'm really there are some other coaches on this coaching staff that I really want to get rid of. There's some coaching staff on this coaching staff that I really wanted to get rid of because I really feel that they were a hindrance into us um, going forward. If anybody that says that the cornerbacks coach shouldn't be gone from this on this team, then they don't know football. The cornerbacks coach should be going on this football team. The safeties coach should be going on this football team. I'll debate about the linebackers coach. Special teams coaches needs to be gone. I think that there are some rumblings about the special teams coach about to go. The Cowboys have been very the Cowboys themselves have always what they have always done is they have always um they always have gotten um they hire coaches, right? But they have always had they have always hired assistant coaches with very little experience. Yeah, they've hired coaching staffs with very little experience within their coaching staff, and I think that has really hurt us with our team because your support staff is where we're getting most of our problems because those are the guys that's really keeping our team together. The support staff and coaches. You have a coach, and then you have what we call a support staff, and that support staff is what's really causing us a problem. Let's look at this. I think I got it now. Where let's see if we can pull it up. Let's see if this is it. Okay, there we go. All right, you finally got it here. Let's look at the 25 year coaching staff. All right, if y'all with me, if y'all can see in the chat, um, if you can see it in the chat, Just give me a thumbs up when you tell me you can see this in the chat. Just give me a thumbs up. Now, if you look at our coaching staff um, from this year, okay, of course you got the head coach. Of course you got Marty Schottenheimer. You got the head coach, and you got the offensive coordinator, Clinton Adams, and then we have Matt Eaglesford for this year, right? 17 years of experience. And then we go through the wide receiver coach. Wide receiver coach, and that gives you what they're giving you in these coaches is their coaching experience with the Cowboys, and then their NFL coaching experience. Let's go through and look at some of these people. Well, Junior Adams with the wide receivers, I think he did a very good job with the wide receivers. One of the better jobs I've seen as a coach, even with 1 year experience, he did a outstanding job with the wide receivers. Man, we got a lot of our wide receivers. Got a lot of some guys that we didn't get. Even people talking bad about Tober. Tober played good in some spots. We got a lot of our wide receivers, and I think he did a very good job. Dorsey, the passing game specialist, I think he did a good job his first year with the Dallas Cowboys. Ken Dorsey did a good job, probably helping our passing game. He's been around a little bit, but I think he was a good person. And I think when you get those game specialist guys or assistant guys or assistant to the assistant, what the Cowboys are doing is picking their brain for good information, but also keeping them in the fold in case somebody leaves, they can move these guys right on up to that spot. The game management coordinator, think he did a pretty good job when you talking about the offense. We did have some hiccups, but I think he did. We seemed like we had some game management was okay. Running backs coach, I think he did an outstanding job. For Derek Foster, did a great job. Fifth year of NFL experience, first with the Cowboys. I think he did a great job of getting everything out of our running backs. Even the running backs at the end looked like they were doing well. Um, the quarterback fellowship, I don't know what that is. Never heard of that before. But whatever it is, when you work with Dak Prescott, that was okay. Steve, um, I can't say Shmiko, did a very good job. Fourth year in the NFL as a quarterbacks coach, but Dak is a self-made guy, but a quarterback coach is very good for make sure that Dak stays on schedule. Um, the assistant wide receiver coach probably did a good job. He did a good job 30 years in NFL. And I think the tight ends were very good. So Luna Wells was the only holdover from last year's staff. So I think for the staff, and I think he did a good job. Don't think none of these guys on the offense uh uh is offense that really, and Connor Riley, offensive line coach, did a good job with the offensive line, first year in the NFL. But I think he did a very good job with the offense. So I think all these coaches was well. I think they did a good job of picking their offensive coaches. Now let's go on down here. Let's move on down to the defensive coaches, and let me know when you can see it. Those thumbs up. I'm a little behind. It's a little behind for when I roll it down. But we're going down to defense coaches. And now we're in the defensive coaches. This unit, if this defense is how it was this year, everybody on this defensive unit failed. It's not just Matt Eberflus. Everybody on this failed. The Cowboys should look at it as that way. When your defense is that bad and you have breakdowns and tackling, this breakdowns and every unit had a breakdown this year. Even the defensive line. I know everybody want to talk about it. Even the defensive line had. Even Clark had a. When you look at the Carolina game, we did not play well. When we look at some of our games, uh, also would play well here. Then we go to a game and everybody's running around blocks. Then some games we running through blocks, and it just very inconsistent defensive play all around the board. That's your coordinator, but the inconsistent play in units falls onto your what? Your position coaches. So let's look at some of these guys. The assistant defensive line coach, 30 years in experience, first with the Cowboys. Brand new coach with the Dallas Cowboys. I can't say that he did a bad job, but I did see a total amount of consistency in our team on the defensive end. Then you have your linebacker coach. We had multiple linebackers in and out. Seemed like we had some confusion. We had a lot of going, not really knowing what we wanted to play, who we wanted to play. We had a lot of inconsistency in our linebackers. I'm not saying that our linebackers played totally horrible. I'm not saying our linebackers played where they were bad, but it was a total sometimes of a total breakdown of how they play.
To say I'm fired up about this one, guys, that would be the understatement of the century.
Kurt Warner is a member of the.
So I just think that we didn't play at a consistent basis on our defensive end. Now, your defensive quality control coach, I think they did a good job because I've seen a lot of quality control issues. The passing game coordinator, the experience of the first year of the passing game coordinator, that was horrible. 20 years in it, and this guy was a passing game coordinator and the safeties coach. This was a horrible, for what he did, 20 years of experience and what they put out there and how we played pass defense and the coverages we was horrible. We couldn't even tell what kind of coverage he was in, and our safeties played horrible. By just looking at this year, he should have been going with Matt Eberflus. Overstreet, the cornerbacks coach, should have been going with Matt Eberflus. Your secondary and nickels coach should have been going with Matt Eberflus. Darian Thompson. Darian Thompson came as a quarterback to the NFL. Darian Thompson used to be a quarterback for the Cowboys. What is he doing? Darian Thompson's been at Dallas for 3 years. He was a holdover from the last coordinator. He shouldn't even been here. And then you're going to put him as a nickel and slash nickels coach, your nickel corner, and then the secondary. Come on. And then you tell us that if you wish you kept Jordan Lewis because of the nickel corner. This is the guy that was coaching them corners, no nickel corners. Should be fired. Should have been gone. White Cotton, yes, but he's got to give a lot more discipline on his players. It's just not going up the field and doing anything you want, because I saw a lot of guys doing what the hell they wanted to do. Because one game they do it sound, the next game we didn't. But everything in the secondary, when Matt Eberflus got fired, everything in the secondary should have been gone right after Matt Eberflus. Because I saw none of that. And you can watch film after film after film, and you didn't see no development in any player, and you've seen guys not being physical on the back end. And if the guys are not physical on the back end, and you kept Elam out there on that field for 5 or 6 weeks, and anybody could tell the film that you see the guys were being hesitant. And I understand some people say, well, you know, that's what the defense teaching. Listen here. Hesitant in the run game. Hesitant when the ball is caught. I can see you being hesitant in your coverage in your areas. But when the ball is caught, when the ball is received, the ball is in play. That's rally. and sting. That's what we used to call it. Rally and sting. You coming, everybody. And you watch film, you watch guys loafing, you watch guys waiting for other people to make tackles. Do I need to get that Chicago film and show you that screen pass again that I kept putting on my Twitter and I talked about on my show? Horrible. So are we really changing the defense or are we messing around with it? Because you can't tell me that you're going to hire any defensive coordinator that's going to come and watch film of the players that played and going to keep these guys. And if you get a guy that's coming in and he's directed to keep these guys, what do you think your defense is going to be? These guys got to go. Special team guy, got to go. The special teams, they had a drastic fall off from the previous year. I didn't like my man. Could you hold on 1 second, please? So I'm back. I'm sorry. But the special team guys got to go too. He's got to go. And I think we just had a bad team. But these defensive guys got to go. And they should have been gone right when Matt Eberflus was gone. If you didn't get rid of these guys when you got rid of Matt Eberflus, then you're really not trying to change this defense. Now, Matt White Cotton, I think White Cotton had his moments, but what I don't like when I watching film and I watch an undisciplined play. And when I start to see it over and over again, when I see undisciplined play and it hurts us in a game, and then I watch it again the next game and I see a lot less of that undisciplined play and we play better. But then I see it again. That's coaching. See, as a coach, when you see a guy or a unit do something and we play a certain way and it gets us in trouble, you hound that, you push that narrative so much in every day, in every practice. I don't care if it's 2 or 3 years later. You always pushing that same narrative about don't play this way or how it got us in trouble. You push that narrative so much that players are scared to play that way again. But if you don't, and stuff keep reoccurring, then you're not doing your job. Especially in style of play. And there were several games I saw guys were doing stunts and trying to run around blocks. And then they come out the next game when we got embarrassed. The next game they play a lot better. but they only play better for maybe a few minutes. But what? Bad habits come back. What's going to change this defense more than anything else, people, is we have to get better habits. And how you get better habits and better mentality, that comes from your coaches. And you build good habits with the least of the players to the best of the players. Because good habits is what we call culture. And good habits with culture, even when your talent goes down, you still have a level of consistency that's making you competitive, i.e. San Francisco. But it's bad habits. And these coaches were part of bad habits. So if I was at the press conference, I know someone asked the question about, well, Jerry, are you going to allow Schottenheimer to hire the defense coordinator? But you know what the question I would ask? With a catastrophic, my question would have been like this. With a catastrophic failure that the defense had this year, we cannot look at this defense at a totality and say it was all Matt Eberflus. And I would say, Jerry, you mentioned that. But should we really not expect changes in this coaching staff and position coaches on this defensive staff? Because if you're hiring a new defensive coordinator, should he have the people that he wants to coach under him? Or is he going to be made to coach who you got already, that have already failed? See, that question would have got a fire started. See, that question says, are you going to mess around with this? Or are you going to really go and clear the staff out and get it right when you bring another guy in here for him to have the people that he wants? You may not be able to get the players, every player that he wants, because players are free agency. See, we think that in this time that the pros is like college, where we can go out there and recruit players. No. You only have to get the players that's available, that really wants to go with you, and that you can fit in your place, right? But the coaches, you got more control, even though they're going other places and they're hired, but you have more control to get the guys that you want. And you shouldn't have to be, if you're a defensive coordinator coming into Dallas, you shouldn't have to deal with, if you're a defensive coordinator coming into Dallas and you don't like White Cotton and you got your own defensive line coach, guess what? White Cotton should have to go. That's if you're trying to do this the right way, Jerry. But if you're trying to do it the economy route or the a little bit over cheap route, then you're going to say, come in here and coach under the guys that failed in the secondary. They failed. Because having a defense this bad falls on everybody on that defensive staff. See, I understand what you're saying, that with normal conditions, and I'm gonna start putting some of y'all other comments, because I'm starting to get the comments, but I wanted to put this comment up here because it just really led into my next statement. And thank you so much for your comment. And I'm not pulling you out, but you must have read my mind, sir. He said that's under normal conditions. But the Cowboys don't operate like that. See, that reason why I put this out there and I put this up here is because the next thing I was going to say is us as Cowboy fans, we have to understand some of the things that they're shooting us that are really not normal. And they're got us start to think in non-normal things. They got us start to think, it's just about the scheme. If we change the coordinator and we go back get players, that's how it is. But the little things, cheap ass coaching staff, excuse my French, one of the cheapest coaching staffs in the NFL for the last 15 years. Hiring guys and telling guys as the coordinators and tell them they got to coach guys that you already got here because you don't want to get rid of guys because they under contract. You fire defensive coordinator. Think about it. You fire defensive coordinator and your secondary totality was horrible. Safeties, corners, back end, linebacker. It didn't even look like a team sometimes. And you telling me that Matt Eberflus had that problem? So when you put that up there, you're telling us, and I like when you put that statement up there, because when you put that up there, now you get into what I'm trying to say. We as fans have to demand that we operate like winning football teams operate and not fantasy soap opera teams. And we don't get so caught up in the fluff. Somebody need to ask Jerry, why is your coaching staff one of the lowest paid coaching staff in the NFL? If you serious about winning. We asked him why he ain't going to free agency. But do anybody ask him why he don't invest into his team totality? Does anybody ask him why he don't invest in his team with all the way? Hey, can y'all excuse me for 1 second? I got this is a major call that I gotta take, and I'm gonna take this call right quick, and I'm just gonna turn the volume down. Thank y'all so much for serious family business, man. Sometimes you gotta make sure you handle that and get it out of the way. But that's a great question, sir. And I thank you for coming in and I'm gonna get some of these other questions because some of these other people got some very good questions, man. And yes, that was a very good question. And he said that, for example, Kellen Moore had never been for Mike McCarthy, OC for Mike McCarthy. That's right. And all this, yeah. And that wouldn't happen with a Sean Payton. And you're right. And I always say this. Everybody talks about Jerry wants a puppet. Everybody talks about Jerry wants puppets. But how you get puppets? Puppets don't cost you a lot of money. You get a puppet, you throw it around, throw it around, because it don't cost you that much money. But if you spend some money, have to spend some money, you're going to treat it with a little more respect because you spent money. I'm not saying at Dallas that uh, you're going to have total autonomy and you're going to come in and go run the show. But I will say this. If you get if you get paid like the bigger names, it comes with a little bit of more say so. There's a reason why they didn't hire these Sean Payton has not been here. He had been in top saying to hire Sean Payton. There's a reason why he didn't hire these other guys that were with top name guys. A lot of people say that he wants because he's not gonna be the run because he's going to pay them. They don't care about him having to say so, but you're gonna pay me to the point where you feel that if you don't give me no say so, you're gonna feel like you give me a lot of money for no reason. So are we playing around with this coaching thing? Or are we gonna go full blown and do it the right way? Now, a lot of you been talking about, a lot of people been talking about, well, coach, who we gonna get? Uh Let me ask you this question right here. Somebody else asked the question, and I want to point this question out. Now, I think I talked about this. Mr. Duncan asked about, do we think we should need to keep let white cotton go as well? Again, I'm not saying white cotton. I don't get so enamored when guys do a certain little bit of things because I look at the totality. I wasn't in favor with Joe Witten staying last year, and it kind of proved out because some of the stuff I saw and I contributed to Joe Witten. I'm not so much of a big. A lot of people owners with Al Harris. I was not. I'm not. I'm not as big on Al Harris as everybody else is too. Yeah, guys have gotten interceptions, but think about it, interceptions don't always come. Most interceptions come from 90% of interceptions come from the quarterback. It doesn't come with anything the defensive back did. It may have fallen that way, but there were some things that I saw with our defensive backs with Al Harris here that I didn't like. You should have not let Diggs get to the point where he couldn't tackle. And I'm not saying Al Harris is a bad coach, but I'm not saying I'm so enamored with Al Harris. Now, Chris Durden, I was all right, the guy that went on to Seattle. But I think he did a good job with the defensive line. A lot of people didn't like it, but I think he did a good job. Now, I think that when we talk about Osa, and I'm gonna get to that on later date, I think Osa is a very good defensive lineman. I just think Osa tries to be undisciplined. I think Osa tries to be outsmart people because he's one of those guys that I've coached guys like that. Think that he can outsmart the game, and sometimes he take risks because he think he outsmart the game, and sometimes you have to tell him, say, do what I tell you to do. And then I'll let you know when I give you that green light. So, but yeah, it's up in the air with Cotton, but that's up to who? One, that's up to who? That's up to the new defense coordinator. That's who it should be up to. It should not be up to nobody but the defensive coordinator that's coming in here. That's who it should be. Somebody said get rid of the whole lot. If one said get, but like, hey, that should be up to the defense coordinator. That's a very good, very good. This is a very good statement. I know it's a lot, but same thing I've been saying, man. I mean, listen, opposed to pack, perfect. Yes, we need if shot is listen. I've always said this. If I'm the head coach, I got to go on. If it don't work, I need to be able to say I went out on my own terms. I need to be able to say that what I did wasn't good enough. I picked the wrong people and I got fired or it didn't work out on because of me. Not because of what somebody else said or somebody else gave me, and then I got fired for somebody else stuff. No. He should let Shotty Ring bring in the best qualified defensive coordinator. Yes, because sometimes you might have hired the wrong person, and let the defense bring in the right staff that requires coaches being paid properly, as well as taking. That's right. We're the biggest franchise in the world, richest. So why do our Cowboy fans allow us to have medium or low paid coaches? Why? Because the Cowboys don't talk about that. They'll talk about the salary cap and talk about who didn't pay football wise. But anybody start talking about how you pay the coaches, they get hush hush about that. And then when they get hush hush about it, we let it slide under the radar. I told you this, and I'm gonna say this: what people talk about all the time and put in your face, don't believe that. What they ain't talking about is what's the real problem. So this is the problem. And you got to change chemistry. You got to change culture, and you're gonna find some cancers in your culture. And go. I'm gonna go back to what I said about culture. When you're trying to change the culture, and I know you see some other programs do well on the first year and all that, but listen, when you and this is a different story. I always say Cowboys is a different breed. When you're trying to change culture, you're gonna run into two things. One, your culture, whatever you're trying to change, is gonna be tested. It's gonna be tested by uh it's gonna be tested by players on your team. Yeah. They're gonna test whatever culture you're trying. Yes, they are. It's gonna be tested by coaches on your staff. Yes, it is. Yeah. Maybe not in a way, but it's gonna come where it's a test of are we is this the culture we sticking to, and this is how it's gonna be. It's gonna be tested by ownership all the time because they're gonna try to circumvent and try to break culture by saying, "Oh well, it's all right." No, we ain't got to do it in public, but behind closed doors, this is how it got to be. And I'm not telling you that I run the team, but this is the culture of how we play and how we go about the operations of playing football. And it's going to be tested by your own media. Yes, your culture is going to be tested by your own media. We see that all the time. Our own media tries to bring up questions to test if we gonna do it this way, if they're gonna go through and shot it this way, or they try to complicate. That's always. Everybody's gonna test. I don't care what it is. When you're trying to change something, it's gonna be tested by the players, the coaches, the media, the ownership, and it's gonna be tested by your fan base, us. It's gonna be tested. And if you do not make pass the test, if you bend or you switch it up, it just takes longer to put in place. Because once the culture is in place, it still will get tested here and there, but not as much. because that's going to be the norm then. And one thing with culture comes consistency. And if we need to break anything next year, it's being a consistent football team and not up and down. Because I saw up and down football team that really, when you're up and down, you're 7-9 or 8-8 or 9-7. You're mediocre. You're right in the middle. So if we're going to change the defense, people, I got no problems with a change of defense. We need to. But we're going to as my dad say, half-ass it. And act like it wasn't a total defensive failure for all the defensive coaches. And we're just going to say Matt Eagleflus. Yeah, I understand the head person takes the brunt. But when we watch our guys individually, we watch guys that was slow, technique looked bad, no physicality, doing their own things, confusion. There's no reason for a guy that's in the NFL to get confused on cover 2 or cover 3 for a whole year. And when I watch the team, I'm watching confusion in week 17. I'm watching us now attack the football from week 1 all the way to week 18. And that's just not a failure of Matt Eberflus. Yes, he needs to be going. And I'm not taking any off of him. But when he got walked out the door, there should have been some more of these guys that say, hey, I don't care who's the defense coordinator. These guys got to go. So are we going to do it the right way? Are we serious about changing the defense? Because I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm gonna give you this, and we about to wrap it up. For what I saw with this defense, keep the same defensive staff, and I don't care. You ain't gonna be able to bring in no Hall of Fame guys in here. What you're gonna end up doing is you're gonna have rookie guys or undrafted free agent guys that may be on this team that might be talented, but you're gonna kill their talent because good players can't take bad coaching. And you allow guys to stay under bad coaching for too long, it ruins them. Now, I'm just being honest with you. You can ruin a player for one, not holding him accountable, not motivating the skills. I need to find. Listen, I've been saying this before. I'm gonna find it. Let me go find it. Find my because like I told you, I've been saying things, and I tell you that what I come up with, what I've been giving y'all going way back, it does not change. The foundation of football does not change. It does not change at all, people. It does not change. And I said this way back long time ago when I said, when we talking about talented, being a talented football organization, you said, well, coach, what we mean about guys being talented on a football team. And I said, well, it's a certain things that you got to have to be a talented football person. And I said, and I'm trying to find it, people. I done found it, but I need to try to find what I can get back to you all. How I'm gonna get back to y'all can see me, but I can't see y'all. But I said when you're dealing with a talented football team, there we go. When you're dealing with talent, There ain't but so much what you supposed to do with talent. You can't make talent. You know who makes talent? The mom and dad when they have the child. They make talent. And now you can get talent. I'm watching the 49ers at the top one seed, not a one seed, but in the playoffs, they're not a very talented. They got players that's up and coming. I'm watching the Seattle team. They got players that's up and coming. I'm watching everybody. Look at the other teams in the league that's being. I'm watching the Rams that didn't. The Rams are back in the winning, but they didn't go get a bunch of defensive guys. They built that defense by drafting late round guys. They have maybe one or two guys in first round draft. They got third round, fourth round guys. They got guys that been coached up and they play well together. Even when they lost Aaron Donald, people thought that they were done. But they pull their bootstraps up and say, we do things a certain way. And it's not always perfect. But you know what you're going to get from them week out and week out, week in and week out. And I said when you get talented players, there's only certain things you can see. Then let me put up. And I said this a long time ago in one of my shows. And like I said with my shows, people, follow me. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me. Because go to my catalog, my watch list. My watch go back to my old videos when I talked about talent. And I talked about fee and talk about the culture. All these things that I'm still talking because it's still coming. And I said, we need talent. We coaches. Coaches must do with talent. And any player that plays in the NFL is talented. It doesn't have to be a name. Any guy that makes an NFL team, he's talented. So what coaches must do with his talent? And I did not see none of that on the defensive side, these four things. One, I saw an unmotivated defensive staff. Players. Nobody seemed like they was motivated to make this right. Week in and week out. Soon as something happened bad, we dropped our head. Coaches must motivate talent. Keep the talent motivated. That's from the best guys to the worst guys. And there is no bad guys on the NFL team. But you got to keep them motivated. Refine their talent. I didn't see some of our guys get better in refining their talent. You don't supposed to get a talented player and say, oh, well, he's good. I just ain't going to do nothing with him and just put him out there and say, well, let him just do his thing. I don't care if it's a Hall of Famer. As a coach, you need to see where he got flaws. And you need to work with him to get better at those flaws. You need to work with him and make sure he stays sharp on the things that he does well. Motivate him, challenge him to get better. From the worst player to the best player. You just don't let him sit there and say, oh, well, he's good. I let him do his own thing. Because if you do that, it's what Nick Saban and Bill Belichick say. If you do that, you don't motivate a good talented player or talented player, he's going to get unmotivated, which is going to make him worse. If you don't refine his talent, eventually his talent is going to seep. And then when his flaws ain't going to get no better, and he's going to be a worse player. And you're going to ruin him because you set bad habits. So that's why I'm telling Jerry, if you're going to do it right, get the great defense coordinator, but let him get the people that's going to do these things. The third thing, hold talent accountable. I did not see us holding talent accountable. We let Elam play for damn near 5 or 6 weeks, and nobody held him accountable for making tackles. So when I saw other guys not make tackles, they're only doing what you let a guy start do. That falls on Matt Eberflus, but who's seen the guy can't make a tackle? His cornerback coach. That falls on him too. Put the talent in the right spot to shine. We got players talking about that they went in the right spot to shine. because they weren't listening to the players. Well, if they're not listening to the players, who the players talking to first? Now, let me understand this. The players must be talking to the position coach what? First. And if the position coach, if the defense coordinator is not listening to the position coach, then you got a bigger problem than this, that. You got mutiny on your defensive staff, and it will never work. If the player got feel that he got something to say, he relate to who? The defense, his position coach. Position coach is then supposed to take it to who? To the defensive coordinator. If that's not happening, and then I start seeing other things, you're failing. So the entire defensive staff failed. These are the only 4 things a coach is supposed to do with talent. And talent, I'm not talking about great talent. I'm talking about any guy that plays football, they have a talent. Motivate, refine, hold it accountable, and put it in the right spots for it to shine. There is nothing else to do. And if you can't do these 4 things as a coach, you don't need to be on the sideline. Because it's going to tell week in and week out if your unit playing together is got these 4 things. Because if they got these 4 things, you doing that, it automatically going to bring everybody together. And this defensive staff did not do that. Now, I ain't going to say our offensive staff, we're not talking about offense. But we're not going to allow our offensive staff to rest on their laurels. But, Jerry, if you're going to change it, you got to change it. If you're going to change it, you got to go out and change it. But you can't change it by half-assing. You cannot change it by playing around with it. Because the things that I saw, what's up going on big time? Appreciate you coming in, man. I've been trying to catch you, man, but it's crazy now, man. The only time I get ready to talk football is when I come out here, man. But listen, I understand we're talking about players, but if you don't get the right mentality on this defense, and I'm not talking about, I heard we heard Quentin Williams talking about dogs. I don't think people listen to what Quentin Williams talked. I think they heard he said dogs, but he talked about getting players doing the right things on and off the field and being dedicated solely to football. When we hear dogs, we hear talking about all the guys out there rah-rah. Being solely doggish-like about their work and being competitive enough to do their work. And remember he talked early in the season, he talked about guys doing their job and allowing other guys to do their job, what they do best. What Quentin Williams is saying is, on this defense, they were not playing together. That's on your coordinator as well as your assistant coaches on your defensive staff. When you fail, like this defense failed, you can't tell me that some coach on this staff, on the defensive staff, is okay, that he gets a pass. No, because every unit at some time failed. See, when I coach, I used to tell guys this. When a guy runs for 200 yards on you, it ain't the defensive line fault. It ain't the linebacker's fault. It ain't the secondary fault. It's all our fault. Because nobody runs for 200 yards and it's just one unit fault. All us got that on us. And when the defenses start to feel that it's all of us, then none of us fail. If all of us take accountability, none of us fall short. But are you going the right way, Jerry? Because there's some other guys that should have gotten their pink slip other than just Matt Eagleflus. And if you're going to get any quality defensive coordinator that's a high-profile defensive coordinator, that's a guy that's really going to come in here and rock and roll, he going to want his own people. And I keep going back to Dick Fangio and the Eagles. When he came into Philadelphia 2 years ago, yes, he might have been let go in Miami, but the defense ain't been as good in Miami since then because he's a very difficult person to deal with because he's an old school guy. But when he came in, he told that they had to get rid of everything on the defensive side. Yeah, they went and got Tennessee Titans defensive line coach. Some people say he one of the best defensive line coaches in the league. They paid him very well. Got a very good paid linebacker coach. Got a very good paid secondary coach. Came in there with the defensive line. Did they go get a lot of free agents on the defensive line? No. He made that defensive line play better. Tell me how many defensive free agents they got the year they won the Super Bowl. They drafted two and played defensive back. They ain't gonna get a whole bunch of defense. They made those guys play better. Till they got to the point they got a number one defense. And then after the Super Bowl, guess what he did? After the Super Bowl, it's documented. After the Super Bowl, after they had beaten Kansas City, he called a defensive meeting the day after the Super Bowl and said, what? We gave up too many points. That's leadership. And that flows through his coaching staff into him. That gets you over when you don't have as much talent. You can't tell me that, yes, San Francisco probably could play much better defense. Their defense has some hiccups, but it's good enough to get them double-digit victories with all their talent gone. They made the talent gone because it's about how they go about their work. It doesn't mean you're going to be perfect, but that's culture. And the culture that we have here is, and if Schottenheimer trying to put a culture in, people, it's going to be tested. It's already been tested by players. It's already been tested by the front office and still being tested because it's going to be tested till it gets in place and we start to see results. Because once it's in place, you're going to still have people testing, but they're going to get off your case. But it's tested by the ownership. It's tested by players. It's tested by your assistant coaches. It's tested by your in-house media. It's tested by your out-house media. And it's tested by us as fans. Because everybody's trying to see if you're serious. So as I get back and I finish, and I say this, 4 ways I say this coach's thing could go with the defense. The expensive route. The expensive route is get rid of Matt Eagleflus, pay him his whatever money we got to buy money, clear the, bring in the, go get, interview the best candidates out there. Bring them in, pay them good dollar, and then allow them to hire the coaches that they want. And if we have to go out and pay good dollar for them, let's go get them. That's the expensive way to do it. Then the economy way. The economy way is fire Matt Eagleflus, promote somebody within and get them a little raise and let them coach. Don't fire everybody in the staff so they can have coach these guys that's under contract and you only have to pay one buyout. Or bring in a college coach that make him coach these guys you already got on the staff because they're under contract. That's the economy route. That ain't going to work. Watch that. They could try you that way now. And the other two, they already passed that. They fired me. The other two is a cheap route, not fire Mag, we fired some assistant coach. They already passed that. And the fourth thing is not do nothing at all. They already started. But are we really trying to take a change? Because when Quinn came in, and I want to say this, a lot of people don't realize this. A lot of people get mad when I say this. Quinn had the best defense here in the last 10 years, I believe. The first year he came here, that defense went from butt naked last in the NFL to a top 10 scoring defense and a top 12 defense overall. And that defense kept us in games. People want to talk about Mike McCarthy, no, it wasn't. That when that got hurt, that team held teams under 17 points. And we won those games with a quarterback throwing less than 50%. We beat Joe Burrow. Because the defense was the standard. And that defense played. Now let me listen to you. Let me shoot this out. Check me out if y'all wrong. Anybody out there go and check me, because when we start talking about all these free agents and go get all the guys, I try to tell you, we ain't do that before. That defense that Quinn had that first year had a Randy Gregory playing for his first year starting. Remember that? That was the first time Donovan Wilson started as an NFL safety. He was on the roster the first time he started. Remember that? Curse we got from Minnesota, but he wasn't even in a starting role, and he never had a full-time starting job in the NFL. He did spot starts, but he never been a full-time guy. And he brought him here, and he was at safety. You brought Malik Hooker here after training camp started. First, you interviewed him, and then you said he wasn't totally healthy. You brought him after the year started off the scrap heap. You played with Carlos Watson, a journeyman defensive tackle. Wasn't all that great. You played with a guy out of Kentucky you drafted out of sixth round. You had two other guys that one is playing for the Giants and Osa that you drafted in the fourth and third round. Of course, you had D-Law. Of course, you had some linebackers, but you brought in the other guy from Tampa Bay from the safety and converted him as a linebacker. Tell me if I'm wrong. And yes, you had Dorrance Armstrong. Yeah. You played with Anthony Brown, the people y'all killed Anthony Brown for the longest at corner. Diggs was in his second year. And Jordan Lewis. But nobody talked about Jordan Lewis was good or not. Matter of fact, Jordan Lewis got hurt. He had coming off the injury with yeah. And you took that defense from last in 1 year to 12th and a top 10 scoring defense. And then after that, complacency set in your team. So you could do it without going out and buying all these free agents. Because it's been done before. Right here. But we have short memories. Tell me where I'm wrong. Year one. So it's been done. It's been done here. Sorry to have to answer that, but it's been done. So when we talk about stuff ain't being done, come on, man. Just don't get too good. Let's just do it the right way. The right way will get us there faster than the wrong way. And I said that in my life, and I'll say it again. The wrong way, which you think is the right way, can take you a longer time than doing it the right way. Right way might not be. Not, listen, the right way is not always what everybody's talking about. Sometimes everybody's talking about it because they're talking, and the Cowboys ownership has gotten us uh, to the point where they get us looking at other stuff, and it's delusional. When you're an entertainment, you're delusional. You try to do delusional type stuff. So yes, we can do it without going out here and getting a bunch of and let me say this last thing. When you're building a defense, you have a spot here and there for veterans. You build defense with young guys and you mold them and you continue to draft guys on your defensive end. If you watch the better teams, every year they're drafting more defensive players and they're drafting offensive players. Offenses are for veteran players. Defense is for younger players. Younger, hungry players that are reactionary and you can get them disciplined. You can dominate that way. You do not build with going to get a bunch of old guys on your defense and from everybody that's already cooked. You don't see guys do defenses like that. That's what you do with offense. And when we built this defense, it got to be 12. We did that with guys that maybe came, but they hadn't had tread on the time because they hadn't started. Curse, Wilson, Anthony Brown, Diggs. See, all these guys in there really had a lot of legs left in them. Three defensive linemen that was rookies. Michael Parsons, I forgot to talk about him, rookie. And they went to that point. That's how you build a defense. And that's how you go. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, listen, this is a great statement. Building a defense with a bunch of old guys, hey, watch just learn that. A bunch of old guys with defense does not, man, that usually don't work. Because defense takes more reactionary, it takes more quickness, more speed, more reactionary, more enthusiasm. It's a lot. And you get older players that can't bang like that, a half step slower, it just it's not good. Pittsburgh gonna find that out in the playoffs because they got a bunch of old guys on their defense. And they're gonna play good one week, and then and this week they played great last week. This week they're gonna play hard. But watch what I tell you. They can't keep the consistency, not older guys. You can keep this consistent with older offensive guys. That's why your offensive linemen are using older veteran guys. Your receivers can be veteran guys. Your running back can be somewhat veteran. You can have some sprinkle some young guys in there, but you can do that with older guys on offense. Defense, you need to be young. Great comment. First of all, I want to say this: if you're in the in the chat, and I didn't put this up there before, and I need to put it up there now. But if you're in the chat, I want you to make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. Thank you for giving it. If you want to support the show, um, you can always use the cash app. The cash app is there. Um, $ PBS 222. That's going to support the channel, keep the channel rolling. But this being liking, comment, subscribing, and coming in and be a part of the show, and like you have with your comments, has been a great deal. We comment for the other people, commenting for the people in the chat, but y'all knowledgeable football fans. As I said always, don't let the Cowboys shoot you with stuff that's not. Let's make this Cowboy organization do what other teams do to win. Also, I will be doing live shows, live watch parties for the playoff games. I'm like I always say, we're gonna watch football and we're gonna watch how other teams that's playing in games that we should be playing in, how they go about playing, and we're gonna learn things from them. And I want you to look and evaluate and see how we look different from them. And we're gonna talk about the things that's different. We're gonna talk about good football and bad football and how we need to do to get to where we need to go. Always remember, I can't say that I will say this and I will say it all the time. Remember that we are a Cowboy nation that's trying to get to 6, but let's make sure that our organization do it right. And let's ask the question, Jerry. Are you just messing around with the defense, or are you gonna do it right? And remember, as I always try to end my shows to say this. When we going through these turbulent times that we see in this world today with a lot of stuff that's going on, and we don't need to mention what's going on. We all see what's going on at this time. But to make sure you understand that this was documented already before. It's happening. And there is nothing new under the sun that's happening now that has not happened in the past. Some of the things may be shocking. Some of the things might be shocking, but they shouldn't be surprising because it's already been documented. But remember this, as I always leave my show, and remember, say this. Nothing or no one can stop God's will. Whatever his will, it will be done here on this earth as it is in heaven. So regardless of what goes on, nothing or no one can stop God's will. Cowboy fans, stay strong, stay informed. Let's watch these playoffs and learn how we are. And this hope that the Philadelphia Eagles in our conference and the 49ers, they both somehow get a loss and get them out of the playoffs and let everybody else go and do what they got to do. But until next time, salute. Thank you so much for watching. Let's go, Cowboys. Let's keep on going. And this